Once, Barnum went to jail for libel. When he got out, he went back to the same courthouse where they had sentenced him and held a banquet. Then he had a parade down Main Street, complete with a brass band. The parade ended at his house, where the band played Home Sweet Home. Barnum had done it. He had turned the punishment into a Dr. Pepper commercial. A few years later, he opened the very first sideshow. It wasn't in a tent, but in a building on Broadway in New York City. He called it Barnum's American Museum, and it included giants, dwarfs, and America's first Punch and Judy show. To keep the crowd from staying inside too long, Barnum put a sign over a door that said, quote, "To the egress," unquote. When people went through, they would find themselves locked outside in the alley. Some never learned that the word egress meant exit. As Barnum himself had said, there's a sucker born every minute. Barnum's greatest attraction was General Tom Thumb. His real name was Charlie Scrappy, and he was 25 inches tall. Barnum taught him how to sing and dance, and Tom Thumb became a huge hit. Barnum even took him on a European tour. It lasted 3 years and included a command performance for Queen Victoria. Later, Tom Thumb married Lavinia Warren. Barnum brought Tom and Lavinia to the White House, where Tom traded jokes with Abraham Lincoln. Another Barnum discovery was Jenny Lind, who was already a singing idol in Europe. He brought her to the U.S. for a cross-country tour, calling her the Swedish Nightingale. Barnum himself made $500,000 from this tour. What he's best known for, though, isn't his money, but his circus. In 1881, he and James Bailey formed the Barnum and Bailey Circus. Their first show was held in Madison Square Garden, and for the first time ever, 3 rings were used. They called it the greatest show on earth. 10 years later, Barnum lay near death. He was curious about his obituary, so the New York Evening Sun published it early. Barnum was pleased, particularly with the headline. They called him the Great and Only Barnum. 2 weeks later, Barnum passed away. But to this day, the circus still bears his name. After all, the show must go on. And indeed, the show shall go on. That's the end of our first story. Our game is played in 2 very different rounds. In round 1, our 3 challengers will be fighting it out in order to determine which 2 of them are going to go on to do battle with our reigning champion later on in round 2. Now, we make the determination by running a little race. Whichever 2 of you crosses the finish line first will be the 2 who get to go on to meet our champion later on in round 2. Unfortunately, the 3rd place finisher is out of the game. And with that in mind, you want to get your hands on your buzzers, because here we go with our first question. P.T. Barnum was given what nickname? Jennifer.
World's Greatest Showman.
Yes, indeed he was. And you move out of the sack first. Barnum said there's a what born, Casey?
Sucker.
Sucker born every minute is right. Casey moves out. What did the P stand for, Chuck? Phineas. Phineas is right, P.T. Barnum. Everybody's moved out and even. In what city did Barnum open the first, Casey?
New York.
Sideshow, New York is right. Casey Ford's in the lead. Barnum was once put in jail for what offense, Jennifer?
Libel.
Libel is right, and Jennifer moves up. With whom did Barnum form a circus? Casey?
James Bailey.
In 1881, James Bailey is right. Casey moves up 2 ahead of Chuck and 1 ahead of Jennifer. What did Barnum name his first sideshow, Chuck?
The greatest show on earth.
No, it was Barnum's American Museum. All right, Chuck, you got to sit this one out. We'll turn the light on your podium and go over to Casey and Jennifer. Here's your question. Who gave Barnum the nickname the world's, Jennifer?
Himself.
The world's greatest showman himself is right. Is not a shy man. All right, let's bring Chuck back in the game. Jennifer and Casey are tied. Chuck's 2 behind. Here we go. Name the midget who was Barnum's Chuck.
General Tom Thumb.
Yes, indeed. And Chuck moves up, making his move. Where did Barnum and Bailey hold the first show of Jennifer?
Madison Square Garden.
For sure, the circus is indeed Madison Square Garden. Jennifer, you are in the enviable position of being 1 step away from being our first winner. Here's the next question. If you get it, could put you over. In fact, if you do get it, it will put you over. All right, here it comes. Name an attraction of Barnum's American... Casey.
Giants.
American Museum Giants is right. Okay, Casey is now now even with Jennifer. Both one step away. Next question could put one of them over. Name the European singing idol. Casey.
Jenny Lind.
Jenny Lind is right, and Casey wins the Congratulations, Casey. You got yourself $300. And what's more important to you is definitely going to want to meet that champion in round 2. Contemplate that for a while we move over to Chuck and Jennifer to see who joins you. And Jennifer is in a position where she is 1 step away. Chuck is 2 behind Jennifer. Here's the question. Tom Thumb did a command performance for Jennifer.
Queen Victoria.
For whom Queen Victoria is right, and Jennifer's our second winner, $200 with you. And you are going to join Casey in that fight against the champion in round 2. Congratulations. Chuck, well, you came up a little short, much like what happened with Minnesota Pats. I hope you had a good time. That much, all right. We've got some nice prizes for you, Chuck. Thanks for being with us. All right, in a moment, we'll be back to see just how well our 2 challengers do against the champion in round 2 right after this.
They don't have a sandwich appetite. They've got a sandwich appetite.
We don't have a sandwich appetite. We've got a manwich appetite.
Manwich, your fresh ground beef plus Hunt's Manwich sauce. Thick with tomatoes, onions, peppers. No cold little sandwich makes as much of a hot, hearty meal.
We don't have a sandwich appetite. We've got a manwich appetite.
Try Manwich. A sandwich is a sandwich, but a manwich is a meal.
If you love to fry, here's good news from Wesson. No matter how crispy you like your chicken,
A whole lot of crispy.
I guess you'd call it lightly crispy.
no matter how crispy,
Not just crispy, super crispy.
Wesson keeps it juicy inside. Lightly crispy, extra crispy, even super crispy. That crisp Wesson crust seals in the juicy flavor. So no matter how crispy you like your chicken,
Am I eating fried chicken or am I in heaven?
Wesson keeps it juicy inside.
Okay. Orville Redenbacher says, compared to his gourmet popping corn, our popcorn's tough and chewy. Well, gang, compared to Orville's, ours is tough and chewy.
Here's why. My special kernels pop lighter and fluffier than other popcorns, so each tender morsel just melts in your mouth.
Fresh. Tender. It's really better.
Taste my gourmet popping corn. It's so light and fluffy, it'll melt in your mouth.
Or he's not Orville Redenbacher.
Right.
Now the look you want is a feel of kindness. New extra curly perm by kindness. The look is extra curly. The feel is extra soft. The proof is extra curly conditioning. It actually conditions as it works for curlier curls that last and last beautifully. New extra curly perm by kindness. Go on. Feel the look.
Okay, we're back for round 2 of Hitman, and Casey and Jennifer are already ahead of the game because Casey, for coming in first in round 1, you get $300, and Jennifer, for coming in second, $200. Not bad for a start. Okay, round 2 is played entirely differently from round 1 because in this round, the challengers attempt to unseat the champion. Therefore, let's meet her one more time, our champion of one day, Patricia Jackson. It may only be one day, Patricia, but it's a $10,000 day.
Yeah, it was a good day.
I bet. Well, what are you going to do with $10,000?
I haven't even thought about it.
Well, I got some ideas. Maybe I can tell you.
Okay.
Well, let's see how you do if you can add to that $10,000, okay?
Okay.
We're ready for round 2, and in round 2 we see a brand new story, and that is where words come from. Do you ever wonder where words come from? No, they're not brought by the word store. It's not as simple as that. But it's a lot more interesting. Take the word sandwich. Now, sandwich doesn't come from sand. It was named for John Montague, who was the Earl of Sandwich. You see, the Earl used to gamble for 24 hours at a time, and he didn't want to leave the table. So he ate all his meals between 2 pieces of bread. It must have been a mess when he ordered soup. Here's an interesting word, boudoir. That's a woman's bedroom. The word comes from the French word boudoir, which means to sulk. Traditionally, the lady of the house went into her boudoir to do her sulking. At least it was less expensive than shopping. After a hard day at the mall, she might come home groggy. The word groggy comes from grog. That's a drink made of rum and water. This drink was named after its creator, a British admiral named Vernon. Why didn't they call the drink Vernon? Because it was named after Vernon's nickname, Old Grog. After the admiral drank that grog, He might have gotten drunk and run around naked. That's what the ancient Greeks did. In fact, the word gymnastics comes from the Greek word gymnos, which means naked. The physician Hippocrates claimed that the sun was healthful, so they used to hold the Olympic track meets in the nude. The runners had to be extra careful when they passed the torch. Speaking of naked Greeks, their god of love was Eros. He was a fat little cherub who used his little bow to shoot arrows of love. The Romans called him Cupid. In the early 1920s, Rose O'Neal created a doll based on Cupid. She called it the Cutie. It had fat cheeks and a curl on top, and it became a sensation